ice that we keep getting. Most school districts in North Texas were out. They closed down Tuesday through Friday last week due to the ice storm. Was that consistent with what you saw across the state?
Pretty much. We saw lots of closures, and it depended on the severity of the weather in their particular districts. But like you said, for the most part, they were closed like Tuesday through Friday. And so it just depended on what each district was having to deal with. Some had power outages, so they weren't, there was no way for them to be able to go ahead and go in. So it just depended on what was happening in those particular districts and how they were able to deal with it.
Yeah, I know power in the Austin area was a big issue.
Yeah. Well, and you have to consider transportation as well. Could the buses pick up the kids? Were the roads so icy? I mean, could you imagine sending buses out and an accident happened and some lost their lives? That's just, you just can't account for things like that. So we would like to think that people work on the side of caution. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, you're kind of touching on my next question. I know so many components and factors go into the decision of whether or not to close down school. Could schools face any consequences if they decide to open in dangerous conditions anyway? And what would those be?
Well, there are all kinds of consequences that could happen, I believe. Number one, it would be if there were tragedies that took place, then I believe that the parents and families of those that experienced that would probably go to the courts, and try to get some relief that way. That would never bring back anyone, but to at least know that hopefully that would cause people to stop and think and hopefully keep that from happening to anyone else. So there are lots of liabilities to consider, lots of, especially in your larger districts, how things work for those parents and for those families and the students themselves.
So what is the impact, though, for students of losing 4 days of school from a learning standpoint and in terms of how it affects their routines, too?
Right. Well, any kind of disruption is not good, especially for our students that find it very difficult to make changes. A lot of our students with special needs, they are dependent on those routines, those repetitions, things like that. But when the safety of not only the students and the families, but of the staff, when those are considered, you really have to take all of that in. But our teachers across the state, I know in Dallas, they are phenomenal. If the administration gives them the time and the space to actually work with the kids, they can help any kind of loss that comes. But there's so many demands on our teachers and our support staff and our campuses working with the kids. A lot of times they don't get adequate time to be able to really help bring the kids along. So they are very adaptable. And the kids are usually very good about participating and making up any of that time, but we have to ensure that those campus administrators and the district administrators allow the actual time to be able to let our teachers do what they do best, and it's to bring those kids along.